Hello everyone, welcome to my first ever Quiz Your Biz. I'm going to wait a couple of minutes just for a couple of people to join and make sure Duncan joins. I'll sort my camera really quickly as well. So yeah, welcome to Quiz Your Biz. This is my first one. I'm nervous. I need to get it right because it is my first. So it's nice to see Charlotte's watching. How is everybody? Let me start. Obviously I need to wait for Duncan to join before obviously I can do anything properly. So let's see how long it takes Duncan to join. If he doesn't join, then I'll just have to carry on talking right now. I can see Duncan's just joined. So let me see if I can get him on camera in 2 seconds. So let me do a proper little introduction first. So welcome to Quiz Your Biz. This is the weekly show where we quiz somebody and find out more about their experiences in business. As always, it's not just about the people that see this, but about the people that obviously they might know and their personal network. So this week I'll be interviewing the one and the only Duncan Price. And obviously I'm going to let him explain everything he does and about his business in a second. And obviously to find out about any previous videos since we started in May 2018, obviously because Dan started off, just pop along to quizyourbiz.com or visit the link, which I will put in the description, or hopefully Dan will put in the description. We will find out. So let me just get Duncan on camera. That is probably the best place to start. I'm going to share it a couple of places really quickly while I get Duncan on camera. And yeah, I think we're ready to start. So let's see Duncan. Let me get you on camera. Add Duncan. Let's hope Duncan's ready. Just have a little conversation just before to make sure he was ready. Duncan, hello.
Hey, hey.
He's glad to see it is working. Glad to see you are on. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Good. Yeah, good, thank you. Glad it's Friday, but really cold. Really, really cold. I
Oh,
had this conversation a minute ago.
you just need to grow up.
Rude.
Deal with it.
So,
Get over it.
let's
Just
start.
think warm
Oh,
thoughts.
warm thoughts. Okay, I'll start thinking of warm thoughts. I might have to put my jacket on. That might help. So, hi Rachel. So let's start with, for the people who are watching and don't know who you are and what you do. Let's start there.
Hi, everyone. I am Duncan Price from Mind Affinity, and I am a psychotherapist. And that title is one I tend not to shout about too much because the word psycho freaks people out, and they think that they need to be broken if they want to come and see me for help. And that is absolutely not the case. I actually spend most of my time working with people who are already pretty awesome, to be honest. Some of them don't necessarily realize or appreciate how awesome they are.
You're talking about me, aren't
And
you?
most of well, sometimes, yes, you're a good example of it. And a lot of what I do is helping individuals to identify and overcome whatever barriers are getting in their way, which is generally barriers that they've put there themselves without meaning to. And it's amazing how good we are at getting in our own way. So I help get people out of their own way.
Good. Yeah. And I'm happy to say that I worked with Duncan. For myself, I had sort of confidence issues when it comes to going to my first full networking meeting and doing my 40-second pitch. I was nervous as hell. And I definitely think you helped me realize that all of the issues that I had, really, I was just pitting on, not necessarily pitting on, but there were things that you realize, actually, why am I doing that? Why am I doing this? Why am I being nervous? And yeah, you helped 1,000,000%. So yeah, definitely is worthwhile speaking to you. Definitely.
Thanks, man.
That's okay.
Glad I
So,
could help.
so next sort of question is what actually made you sort of start doing this? Why did you start? What made you start?
Long version, short version. I'll go somewhere in between. So the thing that really kicked it all off was I went to a networking meeting and I met a bloke who was a hypnotherapist,
Yeah,
and I thought, what a load of rubbish. That was my initial response, because I had the whole TV film kind of idea of what hypnosis really is,
mm,
or what it's portrayed as, rather than what it really is.
yeah,
So getting to understand a bit more about what hypnosis actually is, um, became fascinating to me. Bearing in mind, I'd already had an interest in the mind and the power of the mindset. So I researched it, looked into it, found out a bit more, and the short version, fast forward to now, and many, many different elements of learning and training later. And yeah, that's why I do what I do. It was realizing how much it tied in with personal experiences that I had had growing up
yeah,
that really made me kind of see the value in it and want to. Well, basically, I, I went and learned self-hypnosis and how to use it for myself.
Yeah.
And I thought this is such a powerful thing. And this guy who spends his life empowering other people to change theirs, that's what I wanted to do. So now I do.
That's good. So how long have you been doing it for? How long have you been, going for?
So 12 years ago that I actually started my journey, if you like,
Yeah.
and did the first lot of training. Then Mind Affinity, which is the business in its current format, has been going for about a year and a half now, almost. Um, a few big changes along the way
Yeah.
required kind of a new launch and a new way of doing things.
Definitely. Yeah, always. I think every business has a couple of changes, doesn't it? In the first couple of years. So obviously, because you've been set up now for obviously your business is a couple of years now, what would you say is have you got something big coming up? Is there anything you're working on that's
I have I have some very big stuff coming up. Basically, I want to be able to help more people, and so far the majority of my business has been a little bit too limited in terms of location.
okay?
Particularly with the hypnotherapy,
Yeah.
I won't do that online. That has to be in person. So currently, I'm working on taking a lot of the work that I already do and turning that into something that can be accessed by anyone, anywhere in the world, and
Okay.
not need to despite how really comfy my chair is in my office, that in itself may not be worth the journey down here for everyone. So
I
yeah, basically making it more accessible for people.
I think you should use your chair as a selling point to get more clients. I think they would happily pay just to come and sit on your chair, to be honest.
It is a really comfy chair. I see Kerry's just been giving loads of reactions. She's sat in my chair. She'll tell you how comfy it is.
Yeah, we'll get some reviews just about that chair because I just saw it on the video a minute ago of Duncan, and it does certainly looks worth the money. Definitely.
Yep. One of the most expensive bits of, well, anything in my business, actually.
Definitely. I think it's more than I've ever spent on anything for my business. I know that for sure. So, is there sort of a customer, oh, no, I don't really want to use the word customer for you. Is there sort of a client that you've helped that stands out in your mind, as in something that you help lots of clients, but is there a client that stood out more than the rest for yourself?
Yeah. Yes. So many, but I'm going to pick on one. So the first one that came to mind was this really, really lovely lady. Now, of course, I'm not going to give any names
I was going to say,
because
yeah,
that
don't
would
give
be
me
really
names.
unfair. I'd be amazed if there's anyone watching this that knows the person anyway. But yeah, she's this really awesome lady,
Yep.
and I'm going to make up the name Anne. That's not her name, but if I refer to her that way, it'll be easier than saying this lady the whole time.
Yep.
So this lady, Anne. I met her. So I was at a wedding fair because
Yep.
I do wedding confidence stuff, and I met her there, and she wasn't getting married. She had no need for that, but we just got chatting, and she said she might be interested in talking to me more. I gave her a card, and it wasn't until 3 months down the line that she actually got in touch. But she was off work with stress
Yeah.
and depression and anxiety issues, most of which at the time, on the surface of it all, was work-related stress.
Yeah.
So she came to see me for that. And then that was really easy. That was not an issue at all. So simple to deal with. But it highlighted just how much else there was that she needed help with.
Yeah.
Basically, she was over 50,
Okay.
and she hadn't actually cried since she was a teenager.
God.
And that's not because nothing sad had happened. She'd been through a lot. But basically,
Yeah.
years ago, she learned to just repress her emotions and ignore them. And that's why she was depressed, because she
Yeah.
just had no connection or engagement with her emotion. And depression isn't always about feeling sad. Sometimes it's just about feeling nothingness.
Nothing. Yeah.
And that's just as difficult, more difficult to deal with. And when you spend so long denying your emotions and ignoring them, then at some point they're gonna come back and
Gonna
hit
come
you.
out.
Yeah, but working through it was just amazing. The change in her personality,
Yeah.
not because her personality changed, but because she embraced who she really was, and the power that that gave her in life. There's so much that she does now that she never would have done before, and it's just she's done that work. I've
Yeah.
guided her, I showed her how, but it's absolutely come from her, and it's just amazing to see the transformation that's occurred there.
Yeah.
And then after that, she came and did my self hypnosis workshop as well to learn how to use it for herself, and go forward with it. And yeah, so she's definitely one of my favorite.
That's amazing to hear. That is really good to hear. And it must be
That's
such a
why I
good
love what
feeling.
I do. I get to like really help people, and they do the hard work. I
Yeah.
just guide them. But it's just amazing to play a part in that.
That must be such a good feeling to help people in that way. Because obviously I help people, but I help them in the business. It's nothing, doesn't compare to the way you help people. And I think personally going through some bad things in my life and knowing how much like it felt for me to change, knowing that you're the person helping people change must be like a remarkable feeling inside for sure. So yeah,
Oh, it's awesome.
and
It's
obviously
why I do it. It's why I do it. I love it. I love being able to help people.
yeah, that must be really good feeling to be honest. And like yeah, like I said, I've only obviously you only helped me. I think we only had sort of like a 20-minute chat when you helped me, and the difference it's made for me. I would never have done this. I'm not gonna lie. If I didn't speak to Duncan at the time, I wouldn't have done this video right now. I wouldn't have gone to my networking event. I wouldn't have my own office. So, and that was with a 20-minute chat with Duncan. So, imagine what you could do if you had an hour with him, 2 hours. So yeah, and I'm not just saying that just because they're in an interview, and you know it's true anyway, don't you? So
I know I'm amazing. Modest too.
it's always good to be honest, isn't it? So if you were to start off again now, would there be a tip you would give yourself if you were starting off again, if that makes sense? So if you could go back to yourself 2 years
Oh,
ago,
God, yeah.
what would be the one tip you would give yourself?
So, I mean, I wouldn't change anything
Okay.
because everything that I've done, even the things that I've done very wrong, I've learned from.
Yeah.
And that's really key and that's important. But there's a million different bits of advice that I would give myself. Um, I would think um, the biggest thing I could do for myself is just give myself a darn good slap. Um, I know it sounds crazy, but I know better. And it's so
Yeah.
easy, particularly when you do the kind of work that I do, where mindset is my thing and mindset
Yeah.
underpins everything. So it's very easy for me to look at any situation and anything where I could do with a bit of help and say to myself, you know better, just do it. And actually, it's sometimes important to learn, especially for me. This is something that's been difficult for me to learn
Yeah.
because um, I have a lot of faith in my own abilities, and it's justified from experience. It may sound a bit arrogant, but I see it as confidence. Um, but that doesn't mean that I'm perfect.
Yeah.
I know that, but the moments where I doubt myself most, the moments where I feel I need the most help, for the same reason, the moments that I find it hardest to reach out for that help because I don't want to I don't like to admit that I struggle with things that I should be able to help myself with.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I
Yeah.
can help a client with it, no problem at all. But when it comes to helping myself, I am in my own mind, and
Yeah.
actually stepping outside of that is really important. So no matter how much knowledge, experience, and understanding I have of that, it doesn't compare to turning around to someone and saying, "Actually, I need some help. Can you
Yeah.
help me out?" So I think the piece of advice I'd give to my earlier me starting out more than anything else is ask for help.
Yeah.
Just ask for help. There's a million people out there all willing to help. Just go out
Oh
and get it.
yes.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree with that point anymore. And I think, yeah, I spent the first 12 months of my business doing it by myself. And if I just asked people, I'd been a lot better off. And obviously, again, you're a good example of that. I didn't ask for help for ages. I asked your help, and look how much change. So yeah, definitely that is one of the best points out there is ask for help. I think that's a general thing though, isn't it? Not just in business. People are still scared to ask for help. And I think that's across the board of anything. I know people who have like work for somebody and they're still scared to ask for help. You're scared to ask for help in general life, just simple things. And yeah, I know a lot of people. But yeah, that is one really good piece of advice, especially if you're starting off in business, is ask people.
It's like Alison's just said in the comments. It's like going to a hairdresser and they've got the worst haircut because they don't cut their own hair.
Yeah, definitely.
And so for me, like, I don't want to give the impression that I'm not capable of dealing with my own
Yeah,
mindset because I'm helping other people to deal with their mindset. But it's different. It's
yeah,
different.
definitely. Let's go for a little bit more of a different question now, and I hope you have. I think I have a feeling I have a good answer to this. So, if you were an animal, what animal would you pick and why?
There's so many different answers that I can throw out to that just based on animals that I like. But I'm going to go with otter.
Okay, and why is that?
Why? Because partly because they're cute, but you could say that about most animals. They're playful. They're very playful and
Yeah,
they're very curious. And I love being playful, and I'm definitely curious. I love learning new things and experiencing new situations. But also, they're tenacious.
okay,
They're
yeah,
when they grab onto something, they're not letting go of it. And I'm exactly the same. If I'm dealing with a situation or I've got my teeth into something, I'm gonna
go
see it
for it.
through, and I'm gonna do that until I get the results that I need. Which, of course, I apply to my clients as well.
Yeah, that is a great answer because like I also said to you earlier that I think my answer would just be down to if I like it or not. Like I would be a giraffe because I love giraffes. Not really any reason why. I'd be a lion because I like lions and I'm ginger and they're also a little bit orange. That's literally reasons. So I think one more question from me, and it's going to go back to obviously the last question about advice for yourself. Is if you could give, let's say, three tips to the audience watching. So we've got obviously people watching now, people watching later. If you could give them three tips to help them, obviously in your industry, what would it be? Just three.
How long have you got? Okay, three tips. So I'm gonna. Okay, the three tips I'm going to give you are the three tips that you need in order to ace your life.
Okay,
Okay,
like it.
ace, ace as in ACE.
I
So there
see.
you go. There's three letters, three tips. So the A stands for air. In life, you are responsible for three things.
Yep.
Only three things, but you are responsible for all three of those things. The first is your actions. Now, it's fairly obvious, and I think everyone will agree that we're responsible for our own
Yeah.
actions. If I choose to punch Reese in the face, aside from obviously making him very sad, that's my action. That's absolutely
Yeah.
my responsibility. You're also responsible for your inactions, the things you don't do, putting off responding to that letter or ignoring that situation that you know you really should be dealing with. The
Yeah.
fallout that happens as a result of that is entirely your responsibility. So not only are you responsible for the things you do, you're also responsible for the things you choose not to do. But the third one is the one that sometimes takes a little bit more practice and time to get your head around.
Mm-hmm.
But in my opinion, is one of the most important ones, which is that you are responsible for your reactions, the way you react to situations and stimuli, yeah, which
Yeah.
includes the way that you react to your emotions. Because however you're feeling at any given moment is absolutely how you're meant to be feeling. It's
Yeah.
not wrong to feel that way. You should embrace however you feel. But that's not the same as not being able to control the way you react and respond to the way that you're feeling.
Yeah.
So choosing to or learning to control your reactions is just as important. So tip one, you are responsible for three things and only three things: actions, inactions, reactions.
Yeah.
Tip two would be the C in ACE is all about control. So tip two to have an ACE life would be to learn to focus on the things in your life which you can control and learn to accept the things that you can't. Yeah. So, for example,
Yeah.
when you were feeling really nervous about going to your networking meeting, you don't mind me
Yeah.
talking about that, do you?
No, that's fine. Go
So
for it.
in your mind, you would have been focused on, or beforehand, before you spoke to me, you would have been focused on how well other people will react and respond to your
Yeah.
40-second pitch or to your whatever it is in that room and in that situation. You can't control that. So you can't do anything about it. And all it's going to do, thinking about it, is stress you out and worry.
Yeah.
What you can control is how well you come across. What
Yeah.
you can control is the clarity of your 40 seconds how well you interact with the people in the room, your approach, making sure you say it loud enough, all of these different things. If you're focusing on those things and you get them right, naturally, it will be well received. People will respond well to it and will want to do business with you, etc. So you can influence the stuff that you can't control, but don't work on it. Don't try to. What you've got to focus on is the things that are within your control. Because A, it's much easier, and B, it's trying to control the things that you can't will just lead to all sorts of other issues and problems. And then the third tip and final tip, the E in ACE, is ego. And I cheated and jumped over to Latin because that way it makes an actual word. So ego is Latin for self. So the final tip and the most important thing is when you understand that there's three things in your life that you're responsible for, and you understand that those are the things you need to focus on because those are the things that you can control, then it's much easier to focus on the third part, which is yourself. Because if you do not put yourself first, then none of it matters. None of it makes any difference because you're just going to burn yourself out. We all like to care about other people. I love caring about other people. It's why I do the job I do, because I love to help people. I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't put myself first. So those are my top 3 tips, and I explain those in far more detail in my foresights. If you'd like to know a bit more, book in to come and see me at one of my networking meetings, and I will, when I deliver that foresight next, I'll be able to share that in a lot more detail and give you a bit more insight into how you can actually put that into practice.
That was perfect. 3 great tips there, and obviously I know that anybody, regardless whether you're in business or not, anybody can use them tips, and it'll make one massive difference to life. Definitely. So that's really my questions covered, I think. I don't think there's anything else that I wanted to really ask you, but is there any questions from anybody watching? I think that's the key. That's the key part. So I'll go through the comments first. So if you've got any questions for Duncan, ask them now in the comments. I'll go through the other comments really quickly, and then I'll ask you them. So obviously we've got highs from Rachel Graham said hi, Simon said hi, Kerry said hi, Lindsay said hi. Ben Kelly said, I'm not broken. A small tip has given me so much more confidence to do what I want to do.
Ben Kelly's awesome.
He is. I've chatted with him a couple of times. Ellie Ashton said, I don't enjoy public speaking at all. Well, I think Duncan's given you some great tips there for helping that.
I'm going to be talking to Ellie separately after this video as well. Ellie, read your messages. I've sent you a message. I've got a very exciting idea.
Perfect. That's good. That's good to hear. Dan Pittsum, love heart faces. Alison said, "What have I missed?" But I think we covered that. Steve said, "What ideas are you having about how you scale your business?" I think that's going back to the question about what's next for you earlier on.
That all ties in with my plan to make it, or a lot more of what I do, more available online. There, particularly with a big focus on confidence, because it underpins so much of what I work with, so many of the issues, even the deep-rooted stuff that's been going on for years. If you can fix the confidence, that faith that people have and belief people have in themselves, it makes everything else so much easier. So yeah, big focus on that.
Good. That's good to hear. Got some more highs. Jess said hi. Ben again said acceptance is massively important. People will make their own opinion of you. Let them, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what someone else thinks. It really does not matter what someone else thinks of you at all, whatsoever.
No, doesn't matter.
Because it only matters if you let it. It's your reaction that counts.
Yeah, definitely. Let's have a look. So Leah said hi. Rachel said Duncan is fab. I've worked with him previously and he helped me so much. You've got the reviews coming through, haven't you?
Rachel made it easier though, because she's awesome. So it's easy to work with her.
That's good. And Dan said, do you think CBT has its place in therapy?
Ooh.
Or that Hypno and NLP is better for most clients?
I love that question. That's a brilliant question. I could talk about that for hours, so I'll keep it short and concise. Yes, it has its place. That's the first thing I want to say. So I spend, it definitely has its place. I use elements of it myself, The way I tend to describe it, from the experience that I've had with a lot of clients that I've seen, particularly those who are having big issues with anxiety, who have gone through the NHS, they've had CBT, and then they've come to see me afterwards because it hasn't worked for them, or because it's just not, it helped them at the time, but they've got bigger issues since, or whatever it might be. The way I see it, CBT is almost like physiotherapy for the mind. So physiotherapy is great for rehabilitation from long-term problems, or if you're learning to walk again, for example. But if you've got a bad back, yeah, you could go to a physiotherapist, but it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of sessions. Or you could go to an osteopath who can actually put it right, fix the muscles, put the bones where they're meant to be, and then you can have a much quicker fix and get back to being healthy again. So I see CBT as, and there are elements of it that are very, very good and work well, but it's a long-term, slow fix. Whereas NLP, hypnotherapy, and I mean, I don't use any one technique. I pick and choose from different areas, different aspects, to find what works best for me and what works best for the individual client that I'm dealing with. So there'll be, you know, I'm seeing a client tomorrow who initially wanted to work with me online via video call, and we absolutely could still do that, but actually the way that she works and what she needs, I think she would benefit so much more from the hypnotherapy. So actually she's arranged to come and see me and do it that way instead. And I've had it the other way around, where I've had people who actually got in touch with me because they were looking for a hypnotherapist, and then realized after a talk with them and my initial consultation that yeah, I'm still happy to use hypnosis if that's what they're looking for, but I can see that this and this would help you because of X, Y, Z. And they're like, oh, that just makes sense. So yes, to answer the question shortly and more directly, yes, CBT does have a role to play, but I think it's lent on far too heavily. And I don't think it's the one-stop answer to everything that people tend to make out that it is. And it generally tends to take a hell of a lot longer than it needs to. I'm change focused. My therapy is all about what you want to achieve and how we can achieve it in the most efficient way that's still going to continue to last afterwards.
Perfect. I'll go to one question. I'll go back to the other. So Ben did say you might want to explain those abbreviations. So what does CBT stand for?
CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy. So that's what the NHS will generally use if you go to them for assistance and help with various forms of mental ill health. It's good and it does work for some, but not for everyone, and it's a long-term approach generally. NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming, which sounds super fancy. Neuro is to do with the nervous system, so it's how we experience the world around us through all our different senses. And yes, there are more than 5. Don't believe the science books. So yeah, neuro is to do with how we interpret the world around us through our senses. Linguistic, obviously, to do with language. So that's not just verbal, but also non-verbal language. And then programming, because it's about programming and reprogramming how the mind works based on the things that it's interpreting. So to put that, because that sounds great, but it doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense. To put that into a way that makes sense and is simple, we all have a smartphone, right? Everyone, half the people watching, probably more, are actually probably watching on their smartphone. Some are Android, and some are Apple. Now, if you have an Android phone and you manage to somehow break in and download something from the Apple Store, it's not going to work on your Android phone, because we all interpret the world differently. It's like we all work in a slightly different programming language, is the linguistic part coming in. So if you communicate through an Android form of programming, you're not going to understand an Apple app, and vice versa, and so if you've got, let's say, a fear of spiders, and this is why NLP can be so fast and so efficient. Let's say you've got a fear of spiders, you've got an application that runs. So whenever you see a spider, you click on that application and it runs that program of, it's a spider, now I'm going to scream and run away. And then what I can do is I can go in and I can install an update for that app. So instead, you can see that spider and it still runs the program spider, but the program spider, instead of jumping straight to that fear response of screaming and running away, you're able to take a deep breath and very calmly run away from it. No, very calmly deal with the situation however you want to. So that's how NLP works. That's what it is effectively.
Okay. That's perfect. 'Cause I'm not gonna lie. I didn't know what they were before, so I'm glad you explained it to me as well.
So when we spoke on the phone, you
Yeah.
would have had no realization or understanding that I was doing it, but I was using NLP on you right then. Ooh.
Spooky.
Because I was, yeah, but literally it's just about listening to the way that you were
Yeah.
wording things, because you can tell so much about someone from what they say.
Yeah.
Um, Not actually what they say, but the way that they
The
say
way you
it
say
gives
it.
away a lot more about how they're thinking about things.
Yeah.
And that allows me to kind of, if you like, take a back door in and make the changes that are needed, or help them
Yeah.
realize the thought processes that are needed.
Perfect. Yeah. I didn't know you were doing it to me, so that's also a good thing else to learn.
There you go.
I've got one more question here, and that's from Fee. She said, "Such a great subject. I'm trying so hard not to let what others think stop me from posting on social media. LinkedIn is a biggie here for me in
That's
particular. It changed how I'm dealing with what others say. I can,
cool.
I've got a
Well, I
point
can
on
fix that
that.
for you straight away. Sorry.
I was going to say, you can fix it first of all, and obviously because it's social media, I've got a couple of things to add to that as well, but I'll let you go first.
Brilliant. Well, so the first thing I was going to say actually is that you don't need to fix it.
Yep.
Do you know what? Because, right, so firstly, stop trying to stop it from impacting you and just stop it. It really is that easy. But the first thing you've got to realize is that anyone out there who doesn't appreciate, doesn't like, or doesn't agree with what you're saying is not your target audience. I assume we're talking about a business owner here. It's not your target audience. So it doesn't matter if they don't like you.
Yep.
But what will happen is that those people, particularly if they do then comment and say, I disagree because blah, blah, blah,
Yep.
or whatever, that gives you more fodder to continue putting across your point. Or it gives you an idea for a blog that you can write or whatever it might be. And anyone that does agree with you, they are your target audience and they will see this person disagreeing and they'll see your response and they'll go, yeah, I like that. That's a good answer. So actually, what you're doing by someone disliking you is you're helping to raise your profile for the people that do like you, and you're helping to weed out, because no, I don't. There are people I do not want to work with. It's not that I can't
Yep.
help them. It's that Fred down the road will help them better, or Sally is going to work with them a lot easier because it's their kind of person. Yeah, I don't want to work with people I don't like. It's less. I feel less encouraged to help people that I don't like. So I would much rather connect with lots of people that I do like. So if there's anyone listening to this that disagrees on anything I said, that's fine. That's absolutely
Yep.
fine. Everyone is different. Every therapist is different, which means we can all work with different people in a different way. So shout about it. Get yourself out there. Put whatever you want. If people don't like it, it doesn't matter. It's not you that they don't like, realistically. It's whatever element of you that they've picked up on that they don't agree with, and that's their choice. That's nothing to do with you.
I that's literally the answer. Obviously, in different terms, the answer I was going to give as well, and that is, there's always going to be people out there on social media who don't like what you do, don't like what you say. Half of it's going to be jealousy because they're not doing what you're doing. The other half is going to be your competition who are going to want to undermine you. And like Duncan said, the best way to overcome that is show how clever you are when it comes to your industry. So I get people all the time who comment on my stuff on LinkedIn and say, well, I don't do it like this. I do Facebook like this. So I simply say, well, here's two ways you can do it. My way, which has worked for me and my clients, or your way, which has worked for you and your clients. So yeah, I completely agree with what Duncan said there. And yeah, 100%, because not everybody is your target audience. And that's the one thing to remember is there is 7 billion people in this world. Not every single one is your target customer. I think that's the one way to look at it. So yeah. So let's have a look, see if there's any more quickly.
Dan's asked the same question 3 times, I think now, so I'm going to answer him quickly.
Just about to answer
Have I
that.
ever? Yeah, so he's asked, have I ever been hypnotized, or have I been hypnotized much myself? Yes, is the answer, because I hypnotize myself on a very regular basis. So that's, in fact, we all do actually, but that's a slight tangent, so I won't go into that right now. Yeah, so I have absolutely. So I learned self hypnosis before I learned any other forms
Yeah.
of therapy, particularly, and that was huge for me. That was it was massive, and that I then is something that I continue to use so regularly from that point onwards.
Yeah.
it's also what started my entire journey. It allowed me to connect with myself on a deeper level, which is what then led to me doing what I do and realizing that's what I want to do with my life. So, in that sense, yeah, absolutely. And also yesterday, shout out to Vivian Joy, another NLP or an NLP master practitioner trainer lady out there. I had a chat with her just after a networking meeting yesterday, and that little chat turned into a little bit of a mini coaching session. And she NLP'd the crap out of me. Yeah, literally, again, it's just about asking the right questions in the right way. And it really did allow me to recognize a couple of restrictive thought processes that were going on, if you like, some barriers basically that I was creating for myself as well. So yes, and I would highly recommend that any therapist or coach or anyone doing that kind of work should absolutely have people that they can talk to, and people that they can refer back to.
Okay, perfect. I think that is every question covered. I think Fee said great points to see what we were just talking about. Leah said she could listen to you all day.
Well, I do have an amazing voice.
I love the way she says that about you, but not me, but whatever. And then she said, unfortunately, work gets in the way, so I have to watch the rest of the live later. Thanks for this, guys. I think that's it. So I won't wait for any more questions, because if anybody's watched my live videos, I wait for questions and I'll end up talking for 20 minutes. So just to sum up really quickly, remind us what you do in 10 seconds, or do you want 20?
10 seconds is fine. I'm Duncan. I love the sound of my own voice, and I use the sound of my voice to help other people love the sound of their voice more, and to get out of the way of whatever barriers they put in their way.
That is perfect. And I think that is the quickest explanation I've ever had. And it's one of my favorite because I've heard it before. So that is it from me. That is it from Duncan. Obviously, thank you to everybody who watched, the viewers. It's been crazy, the numbers we've had, and I'm really impressed with that. I hope everyone enjoyed my first Quiz Your Biz, and obviously thank you to Duncan for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And if anybody else wants to be a guest, just let us know in the comments. Let either me, Dan, or Rachel know. We'll get you on the show. And obviously, yeah, if you want to catch this interview again, if you want to listen to it again and again and again, or any interview we've done before, go to quizyourbiz.com or the Facebook page. And I think that's everything from me, everything from Duncan, and that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, we'll leave it there. So yeah, thank you for everyone watching, and yeah.
Who's on next? Who's on your next show?
That is a good point. I forgot to say that. So on Wednesday we have a special guest. It is pre-recorded, but that is because this person is. That's how do I sell it best? So the reason it's pre-recorded is because this person is such in demand, and he has done some interviews with some of the biggest people that I can think of. He's an entrepreneur. He's got over 1,000 people in his property portfolio. Multi best-selling author. I'm going to give it away a little bit, but I'm not going to give too much away. That is next Wednesday, I believe, that we are going to be dropping that onto the Facebook page, Everywhere Else Podcast. So yeah, it's going to be pre-recorded though. My next interview though, guys, if you want to get on, is the 18th of September, I believe. I need to double check that. So Fee said, book me in, please. Fee, do you know what? You could be my next interview if you want, or one of my next one. So yeah, that's everything from me, everything from Duncan, I believe.
Yeah,
I'll catch
bye.
everyone. Yeah, all right.